Good morning, Facebook family. How is everybody this morning? On the heels of this Thanksgiving holiday and such a wonderful time to spend with family. First, let me say how much I appreciate and am thankful for every single one of you that take the time to tune in. Whether I know you're there or not, I hear from people all the time about the fact that they listen to our videos, they get the information, they're really happy with the help that we're able to provide. And so I just want to share with you how absolutely appreciative and thankful I am that you pay attention and that you tune in, because all of this wouldn't be possible if you didn't take the time to do that, and I really, really appreciate it. Part of the reason that we take the time to do this for you and with you is because I want you to feel like you understand what's going on with your home closing. And there's so many pieces to the puzzle that you have to deal with when you go searching for your new home, when you're going to find that mortgage, when you actually sit down at the closing table. What does all of that stuff mean and how does that work? And that is my mission, is to make sure that your closing is simple, easy to understand, and that when you walk away from that table, you are protected. You and your home ownership are protected. So thanks so much for taking your time to tune in. I really appreciate it. First, let me say, if you are watching, please tune in and please check in, Let me know that you're on, because it helps me understand who I'm talking to. It helps me gear the message. It helps me make sure that I'm sharing information that is valuable to you. If you're tuning in live, thank you so much. I know how valuable your time is in the morning. If you're tuning in on a replay, please check in and let me know you're on as well. That helps me so much to know who and when I'm able to share the messages that I'm trying to get information to you. Sometimes it helps me gauge when is a better time to talk to you and share information. And the other thing is, if you're interested in the information that we're talking about, please hit the share button, because there's so many people out there that you know that I don't, that are going through purchasing a home or a piece of property or maybe building a new home, and they might want this information as well. So that helps me a lot if you share. And if you want to make sure that you never miss one of our broadcasts, click the follow button and Facebook will let you know when we're on live. Good morning, Allison. How are you today? Happy Thanksgiving to you and your family. So today I wanted to talk about for a few minutes, one of the things that happens at closing is you're dumped with all of this information and all of this paperwork, and there's so much for you to digest, and I want to make sure that that is not stressful and overwhelming for you. So as I've said, you spend a lot of time going to search for the home that you want to purchase, because it's the exciting part of home ownership. You want to buy that house, you want to decorate it for yourself, and you want to make memories with your family in there. So you spend a lot of time looking for the right house. You spend a lot of time looking for the right mortgage, because first of all, you're going to have to be responsible for that mortgage for the next 30 years. And the other part is you're sharing all your financial information with somebody who is going to decide whether you are able to borrow that money or not. So the third thing that you have to be concerned about is your closing. And your closing, good morning, my friend Pam. How are you this morning? The closing is really important to understand and to choose who handles that closing for you, because there's a lot of things that go into it. But what we wanted to talk about today is all of the paperwork. So when you choose your home and the mortgage company starts working on verifying that you're qualified to be able to borrow that money, a lot of paperwork starts being created. And the reason for all that paperwork is because you are buying probably the most expensive thing you'll ever buy in your life. And you are borrowing a lot of money from someone else, and they want to make sure that that money is paid back. So first of all, you're dealing with the purchase of the home and the real estate contract and all of those documents that you have to sign beforehand. And all of those things are to inform you and protect the seller, to make sure that everyone's interest is understood and taken care of and considered. And then when you are starting to work on the mortgage paperwork, the lender has to collect a lot of information from you to make sure that you're a viable candidate for them to loan a lot of money to, and that you'll be able to repay that loan, and that the home is valued at such that they will be able to recuperate their money if you don't make those mortgage payments on time like you're supposed to. Good morning, Pandora. How are you, lady? So, a lot of that paperwork you do before closing is getting the home that you want and making sure all of those interests that are at that closing are covered, purchasing and selling that home are covered. And then you're dealing with the mortgage and making sure that the the home is valued at what it is necessarily and needs to be, and that the home is in a condition that the lender wants to loan money against, but also that you are able to repay that mortgage that they're going to loan you for the 30 years or the 20 years or the 15 years that you borrowed the money for, because they're loaning you an awful lot of money. So most of the paperwork that you deal with is specifically based around that mortgage itself. And so when you come to closing, the lender has approved your ability to repay that loan. All of the terms of the contract have been met up to that point. And then at the closing, what you're doing is actually solidifying your ability to repay that mortgage, guaranteeing to the lender that you will repay that mortgage, also following through with all of the steps that were agreed to in your contract between you and the seller. So the funds that are at the table are described on the closing disclosure, specifically explain what you agreed to with the seller and what you agreed to with the mortgage company, and repaying all of those costs that the mortgage company expects in order to loan you that money, and then the amount that's due to the seller, also to pay off their loan. Those are all explained in the closing disclosure, which is the document that has all the figures on it. And then you have anywhere from probably 10 to 50 documents that you need to sign, and 90% of those are related to the mortgage that you're borrowing. And you have to remember something, that the lender is loaning you an awful lot of money, and they want to make sure that you can repay that money. So what they're doing is they're giving you documents that you need to sign, where you are basically guaranteeing some of those abilities to repay those loans. Good morning, Ernie. Good morning, Bob. How are you today? So, oh, and thank you so much for sharing. I really appreciate it. All of the responsibility that you're taking on to repay that mortgage requires a lot of protection to the lender to make sure that that'll happen, because if for some reason you get in a position where you're not able to repay that mortgage, they want to make sure that all of the documentation is in place. Now, some of the paperwork may not seem like it is something to do with the mortgage, but you have to remember, there's a lot of people out there that don't do things the right way. We know, we see it all the time. And so because of that, unfortunately, the lenders created documents that are things that have occurred and that they see a need to make sure that their interest is covered. So if you don't make those payments, they have a way to recuperate that loan. So probably 70% of the documents that you actually sign are different things that the lender requires in order to loan you the money. So one of the things that we see a lot at the closing table is people will say, well, what if I don't want to sign this particular document? And sort of a funny way of saying it is that the lender makes the gold, and they're giving you the gold to buy that house. And if you don't sign the documents, they won't give you the gold. So those that have the gold make the rules. And because of the amount of money and the security that the lender needs to make sure that their loan is repaid, all of the documents at that closing need to be signed, otherwise they won't loan you the money. Every single one has to be signed exactly like it's supposed to be, exactly as they instruct, so that they make sure their loan's secure. After many, many, many years of experiences and things that they've come across, that's where all of the documents come from. Now, to say that every single thing you sign at closing has to do with your mortgage is absolutely not true. You may have some agreements between you and the seller that need to be completed and addressed. There may be some things with respect to the actual closing, the closing disclosure where all of the money is described. There may be some things about some certifications that we came across or that we ordered when you were going through the process of getting everything together that we may need you to sign in order to solidify that. The courthouse, in order for us to record the documents properly to transfer the ownership interest to you and the mortgage interest from the lender to you, is and from you to the lender, are documents that we would need you to sign at closing. So there are all of the things to make sure that your ownership is properly transferred from the seller, that your mortgage interest to the lender is protected, and to make sure that your home ownership is protected, are where all of those different documents come from. And remember, as I said, it would be wonderful to be in a paperless society in some cases, but when it comes to your closing, the documents, unfortunately, we come up with new things each year because someone's figured out a way to get around the system to cause someone a problem with their home ownership, or a mortgage lender not to get their loan repaid. And so, unfortunately, that's where a lot of this comes from. One thing I will tell you is we recognize the need that you are sitting at a closing table and you don't always necessarily get all of the information in advance to be able to read and review and feel comfortable with what you're signing. So we've created a book, we call it a sample docs book. Very generic, but it is what it is. It is exactly that. It's a booklet of about 50 of the most common documents you would see at closing, and it gives you the opportunity to review the wording beforehand. Now, they're not going to be exactly what you're going to sign at closing, but they're going to be pretty darn close because most lenders and most contracts have most of the same wording in them. Your personal loan information is not going to be in there, but the boilerplate of those documents are there, and those are on our website. Please feel free to go out there and download that information. It's called Sample Docs Book, and it's on our resources page on www.footetitlegroup.com. It will help you review that information a little bit in advance. So hopefully that helps you understand a little bit about the documents that you'd sign at closing. Closing usually takes about an hour, so there's not always enough time to read every single page of every document. So this gives you the opportunity to look at some of that a little bit in advance. Thank you, Bob. I really appreciate that feedback. I try really hard to make sure that the people that are out there that I know and that you know get information. It's my passion to make this process fun for people because buying a house is supposed to be a fun and happy experience and not a stressful and overwhelming one. It is a little stressful. There's a lot going on, but I want to be a resource to give you information so you understand a lot of the pieces of the puzzle. So hope you have an awesome Tuesday. Thanks so much for taking your time to tune in. Again, share if you find the information valuable. I appreciate it. If you have questions or things you don't understand or things that you want me to talk about, please message me and let me know that too. That helps me a lot to understand what you guys don't know and what we can talk about. So hope you guys have a fantastic Tuesday. Let me also tell you, keep tuned in on our Facebook, on our Twitter, on our Instagram, and on the emails that we send out and on our website. We have a few really exciting things coming up by the end of the year that you are going to really find valuable and hopefully give you some additional information that you might need. So we are super excited to launch 2 really cool things by the end of the year, and we will keep you posted. But I want you to stay tuned so you don't miss a thing. Coffee with Connie is on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Hopefully that information helped you out. There's a lot of good other information on our blog, so check it out on footetitlegroup.com. And you guys have a fantastic Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Connie Foote with Foote Title Group, where we protect your home ownership. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.